Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today we're kicking off our Wheel of Time read along with the live chat for Eye of the World. I'm joined by some of my very good friends. I'm so excited for this chat. I think everyone here knows everyone. Anitha, Lezlie, Stacy, we're all family here. So I am super excited for this chat. So let's start spoiler free for like a couple minutes and give those people there's like 5 people in the world that haven't read this book yet. I thought I was the last one, and then Anitha is like, I haven't read it yet, and I'm like, whoa.
How lucky. I love reading the series. I love rereading the series. What makes it even better is reading it with people who've never read it before for the first time. Because while I'm enjoying being back in the world, I am also enjoying the joy you get discovering that world for the first time. So I think you've not read past this book though, right, Kate? This was
No,
just your
just this one.
reread for the
This
first
one
one.
took me, the first time I read this was a couple years ago.
I remember. I reread it. I reread The Eye of the World when you
Yeah,
did.
yeah,
Except
I had
I
started
finished
it
it in
with
like a
you, but
week.
then it took me 3 months to read.
That hurt my feelings. I was
It
like, why
wasn't
don't
because
you
I
love
didn't
it like
enjoy
I
it.
do?
It wasn't because I didn't enjoy it. I mean, I still gave it, I think, like 3.5 stars when I first read it. I
Only
still
three and a
enjoyed
half stars. Only 3.5 stars. Kate,
it.
my
That was
heart.
before I became the 5-star strumpet and rated everything 5 stars. um,
Well, it's definitely a reread for me because I've read it 3 times in total, but it's been almost a decade since the last time I've read it. So while there's nothing really surprising at this point, it's still kind of like, oh yeah, I remember that happening.
so, Stacy, Lezlie, was it better for you guys on reread?
Always.
Oh,
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a serial rereader anyway. When I find something I love, I keep a copy, and I have my original set of the Wheel of Time mass market paperbacks when I started reading the series when I was 17 or 18 back in the mid 90s. I still have my original set. Those are the only mass market paperback books I will ever own. I do have most of them in hardback too, but just opening the front cover of The Eye of the World makes my heart just fill with love. It's not a perfect book by any means, but this was the book that started my love for fantasy. I was not a fantasy reader. At the time that I read this book, I was big into romance. That was before I realized that was the real fantasy. Um, but I dated a guy, and that was his favorite book at the time, and it had just come out. And he said, "Here, I want you to read this book." So I read it because it was what this guy I was dating liked. And as someone who had just finished being addicted to Dean Koontz and Stephen King, the weight of it, the size of it didn't bother me.
right.
And I fell in love with the world, and I kept that book, and I still have it. And so then I became a fantasy reader after that. So this book means more to me than just the story as well. So it's my gateway drug.
I think for me, it took me so long to read it the first time because I'm the type of person that has to pay attention to every little single detail when I'm reading. And so I was trying to pay attention and keep track of everything going on in the book that my reading slowed down dramatically, just trying to take everything in. Whereas now when I'm rereading it, I'm like, this is a book in, I'm assuming, a series that is really great for rereads because there's so much packed into each book that you don't have to pay attention to every little detail on one read. You pick up different things on different reads.
Well, and it's exciting because when you have read the whole series through one time and you reread it, you get to see just how deftly the author slid little things in along the way that you didn't notice had any type of meaning until later. And so you get to the joy of seeing, you're like, oh, that's where that started. How did I
Right.
not put that together?
It's sorry, y'all, my cold. It is nice because you pick up on more and more things every time you read it. And he has so many little details in there that is sometimes you just don't notice them on your first read, and then you pick the book up again, and then you're like, oh, so that's where we find out about this. It was there in front of my face the whole time, but I didn't see it when I was reading through it the first time. So it's always nice to catch things on the
Well,
reread.
and then I'm ADD squirrel. When I start reading a book, some particular character or something will catch my attention, and that's all I want to know about.
Mm.
And I'll read the other stuff to get to the parts I want to know about.
Right.
So I will sometimes not pay that close attention to other parts. And then on the reread, all of a sudden, it's like, ooh, shiny, this is new. Well, no, it's not new. You just ignored it because you wanted to know about this character.
So, Anitha, what did you rate it? And Lezlie and Stacy hasn't finished yet, but has your ratings changed since you're rereading them?
I love it more and more.
Charya, I haven't rated it yet. I just finished actually like half an hour
Not
back,
Anitha.
so I haven't decided.
about
But
We'll circle back.
this month I completed. This is fifth book. All other four books were 5 stars for me, so I wanted this month to be a 5 star month. So I was reading. Okay, this has to be 5 stars. I was enjoying it. I thought it was going to be 5 stars until the last part, maybe last quarter, where I'm not sure how I would have felt if I had time, but I was started getting impatient. I wanted it to be over, and I had small issues at the last showdown. We'll talk about it in spoilers. So maybe 4 or 4.5. I need to
I'll accept
decide
that.
between them.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I love this story. I love this book, but I know there are some issues. There are definitely some issues with it, but there's also enough done right
Mhm.
that kept
Yeah.
me going forward.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised. See, so many people have been reading from years, so I already know some character names. I mean, so many people are like, I am so annoyed with this character. I'm angry with that character. I listen to that, so I already recognized those characters. I was very surprised that I started liking these characters. I am very invested in them. That is a good surprise, actually.
Yeah, well, as the series continues, you may change your mind on some of
Oh,
them.
yeah.
That's
That's the thing, and the next book you might say, well, no, I like these characters better than these characters. The next book you're like, well, no, now wait a minute.
I guarantee you're gonna change your mind at least a couple of times because there's some characters here in the beginning that you're like, oh, okay, they know what's going on. And then as the as the series goes on, you're like, what are they doing? Why are they doing this?
Well, I am
And then later they come
proud.
back and maybe redeem themselves a little bit, and you're like, okay, we're back on track. But that's
I'm proud to say that the characters I fell in love with in book 1, I never fell out with.
Mhm.
And I actually I actually do not like most of the characters in the first book. I have, and I can't go into too much detail because that'll give away things that happen later. But the ones that I love, I stayed in love with, and pretty much the ones that I didn't like, never liked.
So,
well, the ones I loved, I do love, and I still love. But others, I just want to like take and shake, and like, why are you doing this to
answer
me?
is
Because
match.
it's personal. It's personal. I feel like they're when they're not doing what I want them to do, it's personal.
say anyone that hasn't read this yet, first of all, like, what have you been doing with your life? Because the rest of the world has read this at least once now. Go and read it and then come back and watch our chat afterwards, because now we're going to slide into spoiler discussion. So if you don't want to be spoiled, then don't stick around. I know Stacy and I have talked throughout my reading of this, and she wanted to shake me several times. Because, I mean, for me, because I have such a crappy memory, a lot of this read was like a first read for me. I didn't remember half of the stuff that I was reading. But, you know, when I first read the beginning, I absolutely loved the peddler. I thought he brought such great energy to Two Rivers. And Stacy was sitting there like, oh my God, I can't believe you hate it. I'm like, you know, you say that in hindsight because you know what happens to his character. But when he first shows up in the book, he's just a peddler that comes to town. He doesn't, you know, he brings these rumors and he brings this energy to town.
Yes, but he brings rumors. He's a gossip, Kate.
But that's part of his job as the peddler. That's not bad. Old ladies gossip all the time. They're not bad.
There's news, and then there's rumors. Rumors can be damaging.
I think we did not spend much time with him to feel connected or to be invested. At the same time, I did not feel any warmth from him towards these villages. So I did not care about him actually.
Well,
I
there's
just
a
liked the
part.
energy that
I don't know.
when he came to town, because it felt kind of like a sleepy town. You know, they're getting ready for this festival, so they're already a little bit excited. But then the peddler comes to town and the gleeman comes to town, and
there's
they're
the
like,
excitement
oh, okay,
right there.
let's go.
Tom Maryland. Now who you should be
On my
excited
first read,
about.
he was my favorite character.
And he didn't like the peddler.
Right? I immersion read this time. I've never listened to the audio previously. I've always only read the physical books. And Michael Kramer nailed the voice for Tom Maryland.
Yes.
That was my favorite character voice throughout the entire audiobook. Just
he did such a great job.
Perfect.
While especially while telling those stories, I mean, he captured my attention. I wanted more of those stories. Very good, perfect. We are into spoilers, right? So we can talk about it. Initially I was sad that Tom was supposed to be dead, right? Gleeman. So I was sad. But then I wanted him to be dead. I don't want him to be like peddler. I'm so scared that maybe because he got close to the fate, so I don't want that happen to him. So I would rather him be dead. Okay, I don't want him to see as a puppet or hound to those fates.
What?
No,
I can't.
no.
I can't show my face.
No, no, no. I can't yell at the other. I'll yell at you people who are rereading along with me.
I think I have it under control now. This is going to be hard, Stacy.
It is.
Y'all signed up for this, so remember that.
Okay.
So, do either of y'all have a number one favorite character of the entire first book?
Maureen. On this read. My first read, it was Tom.
Okay. See, it is difficult to say that this person is favorite character as such, but I liked all characters. But the character I thought he did it very well was Egwene, actually. I mean, I don't know, maybe you might find her annoying, but for me, as a stubborn girl, independent girl, and caring village girl, I think he did her very, very well.
I my favorite is the same as it's always been. Number one favorite was Nynaeve. That is who I feel I've always related to her in this book. She just caught my attention because, Egwene is the younger version of Nynaeve. She's young, she's impressionable, she's curious, she wants to go out and see the world. I see that as brave and courage, and Nynaeve is my favorite. And although a lot of people pick on her because Robert Jordan has her tugging her hair, her braid, okay, I don't hear nobody say anything about all the times Perrin eased his axe, okay? Puts his hand on his axe.
I also liked Nynaeve. I think it's not as such. I don't hate any other characters, but sometimes there are moments I was annoyed with Rand and Matt.
You.
More with Matt, but even when he was healed, he did not bother me. Actually, it's okay. Sometimes he did annoy me, but I don't hate him.
Matt for me was more like the comedic relief of the gang.
Well, I 100%. Every time I read this book, Rand and Matt got on my nerves too. Yes, I'm loving the love for Nynaeve.
Everyone except for Andrew loves Nynaeve.
Well, he doesn't count.
He doesn't. He's trying to give away Sirius.
Yeah, I do that all the time. I have curly hair, right. So it has little loops in it that I like to play in. Mm-hmm. And just now I've never tugged it in anger because I'd probably pull a curl out, but I can just see her just grabbing that. If I had long hair, I probably would. It prevents her from doing other things like punching somebody.
Everyone's annoyed by Rand.
Oh, Rand, poor fella.
I think Rand annoys me more than Matt, but because just his attitude about everything. But in the first book, I don't know who I liked the first time I read it, but because I was 15 when I picked him up for the first time. But definitely Tom, because I liked the Lehman, and Nynaeve, because I just liked how strong of a character she was. She doesn't get pushed around. She holds her own. Mm-hmm. And I did like Moiraine and Lan. Mm-hmm. And they were probably my favorites the first time I read it. I said, it's been ages ago.
Yeah, Tom, Moiraine, Lan, and Nynaeve have always been my favorites. Always been my favorites reading this book. Never fails. The rest of them, I'm like, the Trollocs can have. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Well, on the opposite side of favorite character, was there on the darker side of things, was there anything that was particularly creepy? I mean, we had the Black Winds and the Waves. We had Mashadar. We had what was it in Shadar Logoth? I forgot what the...
Mordeth.
Yes. And then you have at the, there's the seals on the Dark One's prison are weakening, Forsaken are getting loose. We have the Murdrial, the Fades. I mean, what do y'all think about all of that? Was there one? I mean, what do you think? There was too many evil things thrown at you in the beginning, or did you really enjoy having all of these different types of the way that the male half of Satan has touched the world and is loose?
I think at the beginning it was a little overwhelming, but I thought by the end of the book, Robert Jordan did a good job tying everything together, so it didn't feel like it all made sense by the end of the book why we had it all there.
Amanda says Lan is bleh.
I mean, to me, Lan's character, I'm excited to see what happens with his character in the later books, because while I thought he was a solid character, I didn't really feel much for his character. Like
He's
I know
carrying
why he's there.
around. The man is an uncrowned king. His people, like,
but we don't get that until
Right.
like the later half of the book, the beginning of the book.
mountains
Just
are
kind
on
of
his
like
shoulders.
Nynaeve's.
It's okay, Kate. I understand your taste is peddler. I know you like peddler.
Yeah. Kate's loving the dark friends. We're over here in the light. Come to the light, Carol Ann.
Okay, I agree with what K Fox is mentioned about Nynaeve. I think, I mean, her priority is always the safety of four of them, her loyalty and her responsibility. I really like that. That never wavered, actually, her priority. And to come to Leslie's question, I think I find out of all these trollocs, fates, out of, even though those are the evil beings, I find Fane creepiest, actually. Maybe because of not knowing, or there is something creepy. Even when Rand found him in the street in Berlon, it's Berlon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
he tells him the address of his inn. I was, I know something wrong with him. He was went to the dark side. I found him very creepy. He gave me chills, actually.
When Moraine talked to him later when they were in the Borderlands, and she said, "This, I've never seen someone this far tainted by the Dark One." So that meant he was some new type of evil, and that really just, I mean, my skin crawls every time because I would just, I just think, what all has Moraine Sedai seen in her years, and to be fighting the shadow all of this time, and then she says this man is as far gone as she's ever seen. Like, I'm thinking, what's happening? This is only the beginning. What are we going to encounter after this?
Yeah.
And see, Trollocs and Fates, yes, they are evil, but still, I don't know. I wasn't that scared of them to begin with. Maybe because these people were able to fight them, even kids. Maybe because of that. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe not knowing the depth of Fane's cruelty or evilness, that not knowing part scares me more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Trollocs and the Meridrill always seem like the lesser of the evils in the book because you can, I mean, relatively easily fight them as opposed to other things like with the Mashin Shin in the ways. I mean, if that gets you, you're just dead. And in Shadar Lagoth, when you come into contact with Mashadar, I mean, there's not really anything you can do with those.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're either dead or you get away. So those I think creep me out more than the other because there's one you can actually battle with, and there's others that, I mean, you run or you die. So
Mm-hmm.
To me, the Mashadar was the creepiest because I just kept picturing like in Aladdin, the guy that like lures Aladdin into the cave, and like he knew exactly what would get Matt, and he knew once he got Matt, the rest of the other kids would follow Matt, and he just the fact that he knew exactly what would get them. Every kid is different, and their lure is different, but he knew exactly how to get all three of them together. And so just with the image of that, craggly old guy luring Aladdin into the cave, and this fantastical world that we have here, that was, to me, that was the scariest out of them all.
Amanda's fountain pen just arrived. I love it.
Yeah, actually, that came as a surprise to me because until then, Matt was, portrayed as mischievous, naughty, get into trouble, pulling in pranks, but he never showed as greedy or anything. So it was too convenient that he was suddenly interested in gold. That's how I felt.
I figured, I mean, they all three were interested once they saw it.
Right.
I think as young men, especially from the Two Rivers way out in the middle of nowhere,
Sheep herders.
that's going to be very, very, I think they're all going to be susceptible to a level of greed.
It's their sense of adventure.
See, once we see the treasure, I understand that we getting excited. Even I would have, been excited by looking at it. But that enthusiasm to go behind that old man into this dark building, I did not expect it, at least.
I would, especially, if I was in that position where I'm on the road, I've got no money, no job, I'm following this woman that I don't trust. Who knows what's going to happen? A chance to get a little bit of money in my pocket so that I feel like I have an option should I decide I want to go off on my own. Give me a little financial safety, a little safety net.
Especially as young kids. I mean, these are still teenagers we're talking about. They're not adults with their own jobs and their own income. So they're still, at that point, they're still relying on their parents for everything, essentially.
And, they are teenagers. So there are a lot of teenage moments. Like, they got on my nerves.
Oh my God.
All of the Rand is better with girls. Perrin's better with girls. I got so tired of that. Even when I was a teenager reading this, I was like, okay, how many times are we gonna have this discussion? Like,
and I kept thinking,
that's why I decided
none of them seem like they're good with girls.
Matt is good with girls because he's the only one who did not talk about girls anymore.
Clearly, Will I've seen is the best with girls.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, I have a question. Don't answer this if we are going to find out in next books. Okay, Kate, I want your theory, and if you are reading for the first time, I want your theory. And if it is not mentioned anywhere, you can also tell your theories. Why did Moraine and Lan come to the village for the first time? If they're looking for the dragon reborn, that's the job of Red Azar, right? Red Azar, right? But Moraine is Blue Azar. Why is she looking for the dragon reborn?
Leslie's face.
Okay. See, I understand. We will get to know that in future books. But I was so surprised that none of those kids asked, "Why did you come to our village?" I mean, all the book, entire 700 pages, I was waiting for that question from those kids.
I don't know. I feel like they were just so excited for something different to come to the village. That kind of question never came to, I mean, maybe it came to their mind off page, but
so maybe I can just throw a couple of words out that you can, as a first time reader, might, I don't know, that stuck out to me. Manetheren, which is what the Two Rivers used to be called. You remember the story that Moraine tells them, the villagers, and that shuts them all up real quick, fast, and in a hurry. So the old blood, the ancient blood, runs strong. And then What's another? So you remember when they meet the Ogier, Loyal, who
I love him.
I love
so
Loyal.
much.
And Loyal, when he first meets Rand, and then later when he meets Perrin and Matt, and he tells them they're what? They're Tavarin. They shape the pattern around them. And I think there's a pull, that those types draw people that are studying the pattern. That's about as good as I can get. It's hard.
You just have to keep reading.
Yeah.
Prologue. Did they?
Because it's really hard to explain without spoiling what's to come.
So Rich, there wasn't really enough discussion of the different Ajas to really. I don't think she was asking about the blue looking for.
First one.
Just
Rich.
Moraine, period.
Right.
Well,
I liked actually Kemlin, Prince and Princess, Elaine and Gavin. Actually, I want to see more of them, and I think we will see more of them.
Yeah,
And I liked the queen, Orgaze.
Morgaze.
She was like, she could have easily just put Rand in prison or even had him killed, but she was like, let me deal with this justly. And she asked very leading questions of him, and based on his answers, she was like, okay, I'll let you go free if you promise not to hurt any of my family.
Well,
they're definitely not clear, Rich. I actually I was hoping to find that out in this book. I was really hoping we get that clarity by the end of this book. Sorry, Lezlie, for
But then
interrupting.
we wouldn't have 15 books.
Oh, we will have. He mentioned right in the prologue itself. He mentioned like 10 stories. Something happened in like 3,000 max, 100 years war that happens 1,000 years back. So many wars, Trolloc wars. There are so many stories. I can totally understand that why he has to write 14 books.
Well, we really don't know anything about Moraine, honestly. I think the group is right to not trust her fully. She is Aes Sedai, and who knows if she's telling them the truth. What is she going to do with her discoveries about these three? I mean, they're Tavarin. The pattern shapes itself around them. She could 100% have nefarious things in mind. So
okay, two things that bothered me at the end. The first one, okay, I mean, one got cleared later, but I was very frustrated when it happened. The eye thing. They went inside the cave. They looked at that eye and they came back. And after coming back, they were fighting with that forsaken people, stupid people. I don't like those villains. Anyway, I at that time we did not know how I was useful. I was so frustrated. Why did they come all this way just to ignore I that is not related to the story?
they
And
didn't.
yeah, later we understand that Rand absorbed the power of the eye. So my question is, if Rand did not see that power, if Matt and Perrin was in that place, would they be able to absorb that power?
So can't really answer that without
Okay.
that particular question about Matt and Perrin. But in regards to the eye, so remember the Eye of the World was created by male and female Aes Sedai joining the two halves of the power to make a pure pull of the male source of power. And remember how all throughout the bad dreams, the nightmares Rand had, and Perrin and Matt, where Baalzamon said, "The eye will never serve you." Well, when Rand was battling Aguinor, that that tether connected to him. The eye, that's when it came into play because it did serve Rand and helped
Yeah.
him defeat.
Yeah.
So,
I
and then it was destroyed, or
Right.
apparently.
yeah, I got that part. Okay, my next question is, you said you can, because I really, because the Forsaken, that guy, what is that guy's name? Some Adi something.
Agenor.
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 Aguilar, yeah. He recognized Rand is the one, like, immediately. He already knows. Why Dark One was not able to recognize? At the end, it was clear that it was Rand. Why all this drama that all three?
They
So,
didn't know. They didn't know which of the three could channel the male half.
but the Forsaken knew that Aguilar
Well,
knew.
he did.
Right.
Yeah. But
He
Moraine
also
and the rest of them, they're not. They didn't know until the eye connected to one of them.
right.
So, when they came out of the cave, when the Forsaken they entered, the eye already connected to Aguilar or Rand.
Well, Aguinor was, since Aguinor could already channel, and he can do it without going insane because of his connection with the Dark One. So, and he knows how to. I mean, he's been around for ages, so he knows how to use these things. And he was there just trying to get the power first.
Oh my god, world building, all this magic system is so interesting, so mind blowing, and so
Well,
confusing.
This is just the beginning. We've barely
Yeah.
touched the
I know.
surface. Like that's what's so crazy. We have 14 books in this series. Already in the first book, you have this huge world building going on, and it only continues. Like it's I mean, y'all, it only continues to get better.
No,
from
I
here.
regret that I did not take any notes. I didn't have time to take notes. I was too busy reading. But they, so many names, legends, names from the old legends, Age of Legends, and even from
They
right from the prologue, they
Yeah.
mentioned. I want to pick up on those clues. So for that, we need to take massive amount of notes. I missed it
Yeah.
with this book.
Well,
From next book, I need
even
to
if
take.
you don't take notes, it gets mentioned and explained over the course of the series. You're going to see these names over and over and over. Like at first, it can be a little overwhelming because there's a lot of characters, a lot of lore, a lot of history. There's prophecy and predictions, but Robert Jordan is very detailed, and he is one that I call it. He does hand holding. He repeats things that he find that are important
That
to
you
the
need to know.
series. So it's going to make sense. It's going to fit together, and even if you don't take copious notes, it's going to start making, like, one day you're just going to be reading one of these books, and you're just going to be like an encyclopedia of Wheel of Time because you're like, oh, Aguinor. So that's the dude that was in the prologue fighting with Luz there in Telemine. Got it. Here he is again. Rand handed it to him.
And there
I
were
think,
clues. There were clues about Rand being the one that could touch the source, like sprinkled in throughout the book. I don't know if it's something you might have picked up on the first read, but remember when Moiraine was explaining to Egwene about how untrained Aes Sedai, when they touch the source, they get sick, and they're sick for a few hours, like really, really
Yeah.
sick, and then suddenly
I
they're
clicked
just
on that.
better. And when Rand, what was it, Four Kings?
Yeah.
After he did
The
that, he was
lightning.
like super sick for a few hours, and then he
Yeah.
suddenly felt better.
Well, the
And
most
they're also
obvious
I was
clues.
waiting for him to be sick, actually. I picked on
Yeah.
that. I immediately knew.
And there were clues. There's clues in
well, the
Readalong.
fact that Tam wasn't his
Fairlawn, when they
father.
meet Mian, and
Yeah.
Moraine has her look at the whole group. And I don't remember everything she said in the prediction, because she sees the pattern. She doesn't know how to always tell you what is going to happen and what it means. but what she sees is true. So if you go back and look at what Min says, that's sort of like a oh, like an index.
Foreshadowing.
Yes, foreshadowing for what's gonna come.
Well, and then the most obvious is we spend the most time in Rand's perspective. So clearly, he's the one that's something's going to happen to.
And it makes such a big deal out of Rand not really being from Two Rivers. Like, you're hit over the head repeatedly with that, whereas the other two, we, are kind of just along for the ride. It felt like at a certain point, they were at first they came along because it was all they were all born at the same time. And so it was going to be one of them, but we didn't know who. But then, just the amount of information that we got about Rand over the other two characters, I kind of was like, okay, this guy is going to be the one.
Channing, I hope you should get that answer by the end of the series. I hope for your sake.
Channing, I hope you're taking notes on how to be good with the girls.
I know Stacy can read my mind what I'm thinking right now. I know.
Can't say anything.
No. That's going to be fun.
Did you all have a favorite moment in this book?
Yes. I had tons. I mean, it's a reread for me, so. I mean, things like
you can still
Bella
have
the horse.
Rereading.
It's, stuff like that.
See, I generally like happy moments, not one scene, but sequence. I really liked that their journey, Perrin's and Egwene's journey with traveling company, because I felt safe, and I felt safe in Master Grill. Is it Gill or in Queen's Blessing? All those, all there are so many unsung heroes in this book, all good innkeepers, farmers who helped. I liked all those small moments where they got help, where they found that humane moment in terms of all in between all these chaos.
Now, one of my favorite moments was when Rand was in Camlin and he was looking for a place to see Logan, and then he takes off running from Pat and Fame, and he ends up climbing the wall.
Oh.
And then he falls in, as of course he was going to do. And then he doesn't know who Elaine and Gawain are, and so she's doctoring him, and Gawain's just like, man, you gotta let her do it because she's gonna do it. She's just so bossy.
Rich, what is that quote? Where is that quote from? It sounds familiar, but I can't remember. Most of all, I see lightning around you.
That's a
Min says. Okay.
That's in Camelin, I believe.
I think she
or Readalong, rather.
I think she also said something about Olf about Perrin and Ruby thing with Matt. Those two I remember.
And that's where the first mention of Lan having the broken towers and the crown and all of that. And of course you don't understand that until you get to the end.
So what are you most looking forward to, Kate? I can't ask these two. These two already read.
Learning more about Lan.
Good for you.
Good answer.
Good for you.
I mean, I don't not like him as a character, but I know that there's more to him than what we were presented with in book one. And so I'm looking forward to getting to know more about Lan as a character.
He's a good character.
I didn't say he was a bad character.
I know, but
he just felt like a side character to me. He didn't feel, yes, he's, he's a king among his people and whatnot. We learned that very late in the book. But, he just there were other characters that caught my attention much more than his character did.
I hope we get to see home again, Emmonsfield. I don't know how soon it is, or maybe not till the end. At least in epilogue, I don't know, but I hope we'll see. And I'm obviously it hinted very heavily, so I'm looking forward to Rand's background. And oh, I am hoping we'll see Tom again in Great Horn, because he was talking about this hunt for Horn and Ilian. So we will see him in second book. I'm hoping to see him
Is that your prediction?
all in his glory, not as oh my god, no, no, I can't.
I want to ask questions, but they're leading and they'll give stuff away. I just know. I just can't figure out how to ask certain
I'm just trying to control
questions.
my face.
Man, that's rough.
I'm afraid I'm going to give things away with my face because I just want to.
Absolutely.
For me, I liked seeing the journey along the book and the different towns that we come across, because it just builds Robert Jordan's world. Like, you see just how big of a world he's built just within one book. A lot of books, you wouldn't get that much depth of the world in just the first book. You'd have to read the whole series to get that
Well,
depth.
and then, this series was written back when fantasy series were, you needed a whole shelf on a bookcase to hold them all.
Right.
People weren't demanding trilogies.
Right.
As much as I like the world building and characters, I'm also little, what is the word? Hesitant. I'm little worried about pacing and how, you know, it's going to affect my
It's
Yeah.
slow.
enjoyment with the books.
Yeah.
I
You know,
would
with-
recommend not binging it like you
No.
did with this book.
Take it
because
slow.
Yeah.
I read a little bit each day
Yeah.
throughout the month, and I was able to, because the first time I started reading it on my first read, because of, I think it was the shelf space readathon that we had at the time, and so I was trying to rush through it, and I wasn't enjoying it, and that's why it took me so long, because I was
Yeah,
like, I'm not
there's-
enjoying this, and I know that I would if I took it at a different rate. So I feel like taking this book much slower the second time, I was able to appreciate it a lot more, and I was less impatient for it to end, because I knew that, it would end at some point and we would get there.
There are some pacing issues in the series
Right.
because Robert Jordan is very descriptive, and some of the descriptions take pages and they will get on your nerves.
See,
But
generally,
that I'm thinking, because if I'm just gonna, like, when I get to those, I'm like, all right, let me just do the audiobook here and let Michael Kramer and Kate Ring just fix this for me.
generally I don't mind descriptions, but timing is very important to me. See, suppose here I want Rand and Matt to be back with Moraine, and I want all of them together. I was worried. I know Perrin and Egwene was arrested at the time when I was worried for their safety. I don't want other descriptions. I don't see the beauty of it at that time, even if the description is so good, because my mind is elsewhere occupied. So that timing is very important for my enjoyment and for my imagination. I think immersion reading is the right way for this series.
Mhm.
That really helped me. Both,
Yeah.
to get through it fast at the same time, even pacing wise. Even I think it's going to help even in slog.
Yeah.
See, I'm a bit jealous that I don't have access to audiobooks. They don't have them in my library, and I don't have any of the subscriptions to the Scribed or Audible or anything. So I do get a bit like, oh, I wish I could listen to somebody read this book to me.
Well, I was listening to the same edition that Lezlie was, and I'd gotten like halfway through the book, and I'm like, I know Audible says that this is Michael Kramer and Kate Reading, but
They
this
were
entire
very young.
time we've had just Michael Reading, and I thought like having the two narrators there, it would like switch back and forth between the male and the female voices. But like the first half of the book was just Michael Kramer, and then once we got to the chapters where it was just from like Moraine and Nanive's point of view, then it switched. But there was like maybe like a quarter, if even that, of the time with Kate Reading compared to Michael Kramer's time. I was like, it says that we have two narrators here, but I'm not seeing like when is she gonna come in?
I think even if Rand is going a different way, we get Rand's POV. I don't know where is Perrin going.
Where indeed?
Read and find out.
Well, is there anything else that you guys wanted to discuss with Eye of the World?
Are y'all excited about continuing the series?
Definitely.
Yes.
That's all I care about right there.
Okay. Well,
I think we are finally going to see Tarvalon, and if all these are traveling to Tarvalon in the next book.
all right. On that note, we'll say thank you guys for joining us for our discussion of Eye of the World. Next month we'll be reading The Great Hunt. I think that's book 2, right?
Yes.
Okay, I get confused. My brain like mixes all the titles up.
Well, there are so many of them. It's really easy to get confused.
So join us next month for book 2. We will have live shows. We'll have chats on Discord about it all, and I can't wait to talk about the next book with y'all. So thank you guys for joining, and we'll talk to y'all again in February.
I mean, Rich, we don't know much about to predict anything. At least I don't have any predictions so far. Okay, do you have any predictions?
I never make predictions.
I'm terrible at that kind of thing anyway. I don't have the creativity or the mindset to like do that. If I did, I'd write.
Right.
I generally not bad actually. Even in Realm of Elderlings, I could predict what's going to happen with what characters in the next book. But here, nothing. I don't know because the title is Great Hunt. So but Rand is going somewhere. These people are going to Tarvalon. Don't know.
My brain doesn't make predictions because then I'm not able to enjoy what I'm reading. My brain just keeps thinking about what I thought was going to happen and comparing it. So I don't make predictions. I just enjoy what I'm reading. Yep.
That's not a girl.
That's the best way to do it with this particular series. Just enjoy the story as it comes.
Except for Bland.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
You're out of the wheel.
You have been written. We're ripping you out of the pattern.
Y'all can do this read along then without me.
No.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you all again in February.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.